Good morning everyone. So yesterday we started off the term by looking at the artwork of Sarah Graham. I was very pleased with the written analysis that you sent in. You clearly understood about the idea of nostalgia, how things like the marbles and the sweets were looking back to her past and having fond memories. The idea of making these things really big and exaggerating those feelings and emotions through these overlarge artworks, and the really bright, joyous use of colour, that they're meant to be really uplifting piece of artwork. So yesterday you did your written analysis. Today you are doing a close-up section of one of her artworks. On the PowerPoint I've given you some choices to work from. I'm going to look at this one of the sweet necklace today. If you don't like the ones that I've chosen, if you click on the website link I've put on the PowerPoint, you'll find that there are many more on there that you can choose from. So start off with drawing out in pencil. You can see I've already done that. I'm working from this image here and I'm working onto A5 paper. So I've enlarged it a little bit from there, but you can do it actual size if you want. The images on the PowerPoint slides are about A6, that's absolutely fine, plenty big enough for this. So whether you're working in colour pencil or paint, start off with a line drawing to begin with and then work into it gradually. So paints I'm using today are similar to the ones that most of you have got at home. So I'm going to work in these. As I say, if you haven't got paints at home, that's fine, use pencils. If you've got watercolour pencils, so much the better. Now, the key with this is you can see in my palette I've got no white, so I need to try and remember to leave some of the paper white in order to see those highlights on here. I could draw them in pencil if I wanted to. I'm going to try and paint them without blocking those in. So I'm going to start by looking at this yellow one. So I'm going to go in with my lemon yellow to start off with, and then I'm going to use my yellow ochre and my flesh yellow and my orange yellow in order to add in these darker tones. I might use a little bit of brown for these warmer tones at the bottom, but I will avoid using black if I can, because really as soon as I put the black in that yellow you just end up with dirty yellow rather than the actual sort of tones that we're looking for. So I'm going to try and remember to leave some of those white highlights on there because I'm not going to be able to put them back in later. I'm working my way down with this yellow paint. You can see this is a bit more lemony than the one that she's used on there, so I'm going to put in a little bit of this flesh yellow, see if that helps. Oh yeah, that's a bit of a warmer colour there, which is more what I'm looking for. Start blocking that down. Actually that was quite good putting that lighter one at the top because that's given me a highlight there as well. So I might have a little bit more of that to blend in as we come through. And bringing that down. So this darker section here, I'm working, mixing that yellow ochre in with the flesh tone just to bring that down, get those darker tones. It's keeping lighter on this side, and then as it comes down to the bottom here there's another little highlight, so looking at that, to go back in with my lighter yellow, pull that round at the bottom. Okay, so now I want to get in those edges. So these are a bit darker again. I'll go in with that darker yellow. Bringing that through. So I'll keep using my water, washing out my brush, reloading my brush with paint. And I'm actually mixing into my paints at the moment. I have got a palette ready for when I want it, but at the moment this is working quite well because I'm just moving between those three yellow tones. So now I'm doing this much darker area down here, so I've gone in with that yellow ochre to start off with. I'm going to use a bit more of that while I've got it on my brush to add into there. And then I need to go much lighter again here. So back to that lemon yellow, pulling that through. Obviously if you have got white you can blend it with your yellows to make the lighter tones if you want to, that's absolutely fine. I'm just using what I've got to hand. Okay, so that's not bad as a base to work on. So now I can start thinking about how to get these much darker tones. So I'm going to go, see what this looks like. This kind of orange brown, I think that'll work quite well in there. And I'm going to start using that to build on top of these darker tones, so I can start to get a bit more three-dimensional quality coming through here. Now the paper I'm working on is just a medium weight paper, it's nothing that fancy. If you are painting, if you have got any art paper at home, try and use that. If you're using photocopy paper, probably use coloured pencils would be better. I don't think it will take the paint very well, but you can only use what you've got. I appreciate that. So getting in those darker tones, so that kind of nut brown has worked quite well there to get in those darker tones. And then I can blend that through, wet brush, nice and clean. Just some of that water, just to blend that line through a bit so it's less of a sudden stop. Keep washing out my brush, otherwise I'm just dragging paint rather than dragging water. Okay. And then I just want to go in one last time, going slightly darker still, so I'm just going to go for that next brown, mix it with a bit of the nut brown, just make it slightly darker one, and I want a bit more definition, so my paint is a little bit thicker. Depends how wet my paper is now, whether it'll take it. Just about. Okay. And then I want to get quite dark brown in there. So as you can see, you're going to be working in layers, building this up gradually, and then you'll be able to move on to the red one.